Hello lovely beaders. Welcome back to my channel. This week's video features a simple little beading project. Something light and fun to make. If you're more experienced, it might feel more like a relaxing finger exercise than a big challenge. I will show you how to bead some cute and charming pieces that work well on their own, or as part of a necklace. Don't like one of the elements? No problem, just use the other one to create your own design. Sounds fun? Then pick out some beads and come bead along with me. Keep in mind that this materials list is for the necklace I made. If you're making a bracelet or just the beaded bead for earrings, you won't need everything listed. Feel free to use different materials too. This is just what I had and how I imagined it. First, I show you the pattern for the beaded bead. Start by stringing 4 pieces of 3mm bicones alternately with 4 pieces of delica beads in color A. Pull the beads down on your thread and put a double knot to make a circle with the beads. Pull the knot into the bicone and step out from the delica bead. String 12 pieces of delica in color A. Pull the beads down on your thread. Start a peyote row, but ignore the first bead on the strip. So with the first delica bead, go through the third bead, not the second. You will have a picot on top of your strip. Continue peyoting until you reach the end of the strip. With the last delica, enter in the delica between the 2 bicones. You have a peyote strip between 2 bicones. Now you will need to make the last 3. So go through the bicone to reach the next delica. Start the next strip by stringing 12 delicas in color A. Pull down the beads and start the peyote row, but with the first delica, go through the third delica from the strip to make the picot on top of the strip. From time to time I will speed up parts of the video, to not bore you with the repeated parts of the beading. Don't forget that you can slow it down by clicking on the cogwheel icon and selecting the speed you want. Don't forget that with the last delica from the strip you need to go through the delica between the 2 bicones. And of course I have my issues too. Sometimes I string 2 beads at a time, or I skip a bead unintentionally. Like for example here, I skipped a bead and I needed to step back. This is my last strip. Bear with me. With the last bead I go back in the delica between the bicones, but now I don't go through the bicone to reach the next delica. And I have 4 strips. Or should I say 4 legs? Or this is like a propeller for now. I want to get rid of the tail. So I thread the tail, I go through some beads and I cut it. To make a beaded bead instead of this propeller looking something, we need to go up on a strip and string the bicones between the top delicas. For that, go through the first delica from the strip and start a peyote row with delica in color B. Now that we reach the top of the strip, go through the delica from the top and string one bicone between these delicas. Make sure that the strips are straight, you don't want them twisted. Don't pull the thread tight. We need to put the round bead inside the cage before we pull this row tight. This part will be a little bit fiddling because you will need to pull the row tight while the round bead needs to have the hole in good position. If you pull tight and the hole is not in place, you will have a problem stringing the beaded bead when it's finished. If you loose the hole, take a minute and bring it back in the middle. When you pull tight, it will stay in place. Go through this row as many times you need to have a good tight bezel for the round bead. I went through 2 times and it is quite tight. But I still need to turn the bead inside a little bit and check that I can go through the hole. The next step is to make the second side of that strip where we strung the delicas in color B. So lead your thread to that strip and step out from the other side of the strip to start making the row with the color B delicas. When you reach the end of the row, just turn back to the other side and make the second peyote row with delicas in color B. When you turn back, you will need to go through 2 delicas at once to start the new row. You will have in total of 3 rows with the delica in color B. This is the second row. When you string the last bead in this side, you will need to go through the last 2 delicas in this side. The delica in color B and the delica in color A. And you will need to do the same turning like you did when you started this row. And make the peyote row on the other side too. When you reach the end of the row, you will need to go through all the beads until you reach the good position to start the new peyote row on the other side of the strip. And this is the last peyote row for this strip. With the last bead, you need to go through 3 beads and turn and go through 3 beads on the other side too. And make the last side on this strip. And this is it. You finished a strip. Now you need to make the remaining 3. So, lead your thread to the next strip and start making the peyote rows with delicas in color B. I don't want to bore you by making you watch me bead the remaining 3 strips. Even if I speed it up, it would still be quite long and boring. So I'll finish it off camera and show you the finished beaded bead instead. Here I am. I finished the beaded bead. And now I need to finish my thread too. I will weave it in through the beads before I cut it. Usually I make at least 3 turnarounds before I cut the thread. I have a beaded bead for my project. I could use this beaded bead to make an earring, or I can make a bunch of them and turn them into a bracelet. The connector type bead is made with a crawl base. If you don't know this technique, please consider to learn it. I made a better video about this technique in video number 48. I will link this video here in the screen and down in the description too. Start by stringing 4 pieces of bugle beads. Pull them down on your thread and put a double knot to make a circle with the beads. This will be your bottom circle. Go through the first bugle bead and pull your knot into this bead to hide it. Make the first side by stringing 3 bugle beads and going through the bugle bead from the bottom circle again to form the side circle. Go through the next bead from the bottom circle. String 2 pieces of bugle beads and go through the side bead from the first side circle and the bead from the bottom circle. This is your second side circle. Go through the next bead from the bottom circle and repeat the last step. String 2 bugle beads and go through the side bead and the bottom circle bead. This is your third circle. For making the last circle you need only 1 bead. So go through the bottom circle bead and the side bead from the first circle. Then string 1 bead and go through the side bead from the third circle and the bottom circle bead. The last step is to reinforce the top circle by going through the beads. So go through a side bead and all the beads from the top circle. And now you have a cube with bottom circle, top circle and 4 side circles. This is a craw cube. String size 15 seed beads between the bugle beads from the top circle. It is a fiddly thing to do because this thing is quite small and you don't have much to hold on to. Lead your thread to a bead from the bottom circle and string size 15 seed beads between the bugle beads from the bottom circle too. With the last bead go through the last bugle bead and the first seed bead too. String 1 bicone, 1 seed bead, 1 bicone and go through the next seed bead from the bottom circle. Repeat around. Lead your thread through the bugle beads to reach the top circle and step out from a seed bead strung between the bugle beads in the top circle. The tail of the thread is annoying me, so I decide it's time to finish it. So I thread it and go through some beads and cut it. You are exiting from a seed bead on the top circle. Pick up a bicone and go through the seed bead strung between the bicones. Pick up another bicone and go through the next seed bead from the top circle. And repeat around. And the connector type bead with the X's on top is finished. It's cute, isn't it? Put some double knots to finish your thread. To make a double knot, just go under a thread line between 2 beads to obtain a thread loop. Then go through this loop twice and pull the thread to make the knot. Pull the knot inside of the bead next to it and go through some beads to find a good spot for the next knot. Make at least 2 double knots before you cut the thread. That was easy to make, don't you think? Now, depending on what you want to make from these elements, you need to make more of them. For my necklace I made 3 connectors and 2 beaded beads. And now I will walk you through the materials I used for making the necklace. I strung the finished bead components onto a tiger tail wire, adding extra beads in between. I used a 0.7 mm wire that I cut to size. This size is thin enough to go through the beads but thick enough to hold the necklace's round shape. I cut a piece of wire about 45 centimeters long. I added a crimp cover and a crimp bead to one end of the wire. After that, I secured the crimp bead, added a bit of glue for extra hold and closed the crimp cover. Then I started stringing beads. Small ones first, then gradually larger ones toward the center. If you're enjoying this video, I'd love to ask for a small favor that makes a huge difference. Running this channel and creating these tutorials takes a lot of time and effort, and while I love sharing my knowledge for free, I can only keep doing it with your support. Watch the video until the end. A thumbs up, a comment or share also goes a long way, and subscribing is free but incredibly helpful. If you want to go even further, you can buy me a coffee or check out my tutorials and jewelry. Links are in the description. But honestly, just watching and engaging is already an amazing way to support me. So thank you for being here, it really means the world. I placed the beaded pieces in the middle, adding 4mm bicones between them. Started with a 4mm bicone, then a beaded connector, another 4mm bicone and a beaded bead. And I continued until I had all my beaded components strung. Then I filled the second side symmetrically. I will not show you this part. It is really symmetrical with the first side. After making the second side, I added the crimp cover and the crimp bead. Making sure everything was tight, I pressed the crimp bead. I trimmed the wire, glued the crimp for extra security and closed the cover. Lastly, I added jump rings and a lobster clasp to finish the necklace. You can add a chain extender if you want, but I made this necklace to my size. It's just the right length for me, so I don't need a chain extender. And that's the end of today's video. If you watched it and liked it, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for spending time with me. See you next week.